Should fat loss be fast or slow? And if I'm honest, you've probably tried both ways. Cut out calories, ramped up cardio, and just prayed for results. But here's the truth. There is multiple ways to lose fat, but generally people find there's one way that fits them to a T, and possibly we need to change those strategies at different times of your life. Welcome back to another episode of the Limitless Nation podcast, because today we are diving into a very misunderstood and probably an emotionally charged topic in the fitness world, which is fat loss. Specifically, should you go fast or slow? Because if you've ever Googled how to get shredded fast, or fall into the trap of cutting calories, ramping up cardio, adding in all these different things into repertoire and just praying it works, this episode is for you. Because there isn't one right way to lose fat. There are multiple ways, but generally there's going to be one right way that's going to be beneficial to you in the short and the long term. And today I'm going to break down 3 primary approaches we use inside our coaching programs to help women lose body fat, well, women and men, sorry, can't leave out the men, without burning out, falling off the bandwagon and rebounding hard after. And I also share how we decide which method as well, and which pattern based on your stress levels, your brain chemistry, and your unique lifestyle. So let's get into it. Now, most people know the first one. It's the blitz method, right? AKA the fast sprint. This is one everyone gravitates towards when they get emotional. When they're feeling fed up, they're frustrated, they've got an event coming up, done with everything. And honestly, I get it. I've been there. Sometimes you just want results yesterday. Actually, if I'm honest, everybody wants results yesterday. And you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Well, almost whatever it takes. And this approach is where we go all in for a 4 to 6 week period. And we're talking a big caloric deficit where we often start around 30 to 50% below maintenance. We have a high protein intake, which protects muscle mass, and cardio, which is around that 4 to 5 day mark of cardio, maybe even twice a day if you're a lunatic. And possibly some people might use supplements to also help enhance their fat loss, which we don't necessarily do quite a lot of. We like to mainly work with training and nutrition and look at supplements as a very, very last resort, because the goal here is simple. It's fat loss, right? Without doing too much damage. So now, who does this type of approach actually work for? Because honestly, you might think it's for everyone, but it is not for everyone. You see, this method works best for people, one, with short timelines, like a photo shoot, a wedding, a trip. There are other things we can discuss about that, which I won't go into today in terms of how to rebound off it. So rebound after it. But clients who are possibly already lean and they want to just drop a little bit more, and particularly neurotypes or people who are dopamine dominant, results driven, and high performers that thrive on intensity. This works really well for them. We work with a lot of people in our group that we assess everyone's brain chemistry, and we assess, okay, how does their brain function? And generally people like to fall into one of 5 categories, and we create our programs based on their appropriate brain chemistry. Now, obviously, a fast dieting phase has its risks. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It sucks. The energy crashes, consistent cravings for things. Possibly you're gonna feel flat. Your training might feel like crap. You're not gonna be as strong. Generally, for the first after the 10 to 14 day mark, as glycogen really depletes. And if you're someone who already runs high on cortisol and tends to get anxious and emotional with change, this is gonna feel like hell. Particularly menopausal women, this is going to feel like absolute hell. You're going to lose muscle mass. You're definitely going to lose patience in your coaching. And you're probably going to go, well, fuck it, I'm just going to do whatever it is that is not this current thing. And you rebound. You rebound back and you eat all of the things. And you just lose patience. So in our coaching, we only use this when the timeline is short and fixed. The client is healthy. They have good sleep. They're not chronically stressed. And their mindset is generally bulletproof. So what I mean by that is like they are highly coachable. They're going to listen to direction. They're going to understand. They're not going to go rogue, understand the parameters and the processes. Like, because if you're consistently anxious and not sleeping, running on coffee, thinking about food 24/7, this approach is going to wreck people if they don't reverse out of it well, which is what coaching is here for. Part 2 is the fat loss marathon. Now, we like to flip the script on this one because we want to talk about more of like the marathon, like a marathon method rather than a sprint. So like a slow, strategic, sustainable fat loss. Like when I was in my bodybuilding days, this would be the method that I would take. So it gets glorified, honestly, by a lot of evidence-based research. And honestly, it deserves probably more respect because when done right, this is the approach that gives you probably more lasting results without wrecking your hormonal function, your sanity, your metabolism, and also highlighting the stress in your life. This structure is very simple. We start with a modest deficit. We slowly increase cardio and movement over time. And I guess the objective for this is to make sure that every sort of 2 to 3 weeks we're seeing some good progress, and we assess fat loss there because we're going to have weekly and daily fluctuations 100%. But when we look at the grand scheme of things over like a 4-week period, that's when we want to see, I guess, the best results possible. Generally, this type of approach works best for a particular neurotype, a neurotype 3, people who are structured, methodical thinkers, who thrive in routine, people who aren't in a rush, and are focused on sustainability. Like, biggest thing is focusing on sustainability. Clients with high stress and a high history of dieting and metabolic adaptation. So if you've eaten nothing for the last 10 years because you've decided that eating 1,200 calories was a good idea and you've maintained that, then this would be the approach for you. To be honest, those people probably need to reverse dieting first. We slowly increase calories, which you probably end up losing weight. Like, I've got a client who I've slowly increased calories over the past 12 weeks, and she's lost now 13 kilos and now eating 1,900 calories. We started her at 1,400 calories because she was probably only getting in around 1,000, as she said to me. Who knows if that was what it was, but that's what she outlined. We started on 1,400, good loss, increased it to 16, increased it to 18, increased it to 19 now. And she is now still losing weight on 1,900 calories. So, but that is another podcast for another day. But nonetheless, clients who are highly stressed or they have adapted to whatever low calories that they have, this is probably going to be a better approach to them. Like, it can be mentally tough because it takes a little bit longer for some people. Like, in fact, if you're not already lean, the first few weeks might make you feel worse because, like, you look better, but it's mainly from a reduction in glycogen and water. So you just look a little bit smaller. You've lost a bit of weight, which is very, very motivating, but then it's not as quick thereafter. And you're not necessarily super lean. The scales are going to show that you're lean, but it's going to be a longer process because you see that big drop to start with and you're like, oh my God, it's going to be the best. And then it's not as fast because that's just what fat loss does. And it's a big mind fuck for people. For my high performers out there, the ones who love the dopamine hit, a rapid change, this method can feel like it's what you're watching paint dry, if I'm completely honest. If you're someone who thrives off like quick momentum, you're going to get bored. And if you're not careful, you'll start chasing other strategies, switching plans, and giving up. So when do you use the marathon method? So I guess, when do we use the marathon method in our coaching? And generally it's when we're rebuilding a client's metabolism after like chronic dieting, when there's no deadline and the goal is like they just want to be healthier, fit the clothes they used to. They don't want it to be fast. They want it to be very sustainable. So when they get they're emotionally stable in this instance. And this method isn't sexy. It is definitely reliable. And in the right hands with the right accountability, it works like an absolute charm. And now we come to fat loss strategy number 3, the hybrid method. Now, this is probably one of my favorite approaches and the one we probably use the second most in our programs, and that is the fat loss intervals. And I think of it like it's like a hit for fat loss strategy. So we rotate between periods of intense fat loss efforts, like 2 to 4 week period, followed by an intentional maintenance week. So we stabilize the metabolism, support recovery, and maintain training quality. So a cycle would look like 3 weeks in a blitz style training diet, 1 week of maintenance calories, training dialed back as well in this week for some individuals. And then we'll repeat this and we'll repeat this and we'll repeat this for a good 16 to 24 weeks, depending on, I guess, how long it's going to take for them to lose this fat. I guess, why do I love this? Because it combines the results of the sprint and the sustainability of the marathon, right? It's flexible, it allows for psychological recovery, it prevents muscle downregulation, it's very good for majority of neurotypes as well. So, and it just helps from a psychological perspective because you're still seeing some really good results, but you're also not chronically dying to the nth degree for months and weeks on end. I guess which approach is best? And honestly, it really depends on your personality, it depends on your goals, it depends on your stress profile, and also your lifestyle. So inside of our programs, we don't just like plug people into a template. Like we really assess your neurotype, your nervous system load, your goal, and your nutritional history. And then we match you to the best method. And that's why our clients don't just lose weight, they actually like keep it off. Like the amount of women who have lost 10, 15 kilos and they've kept it off, like and maintained that for a good amount of time. I guess I don't think anyone's actually, maybe one to three people have rebounded after that. Because it's a very sustainable approach, but also the reverse diet out of a diet is also something that we really like to dive deep into, because the training and the coaching doesn't stop when the weight is achieved. The training is stopped when they've reached their new maintenance calories post their fat loss diet. And I guess if you've tried multiple ways of doing this, if you've tried all of them and none of them work for you, and like, well, which one's going to be working the best for me now? What's going to be the best option for me now? Reach out to us on Instagram, because we're going to be able to provide you with some tools, provide you with our quiz to give you a bit more of an insight into your neurotype, how your brain thinks, and possibly which one of these fat loss methods is going to be the best option for you. Thanks for joining us again today, team. Make sure to like and subscribe our YouTube channel. We are also on Spotify as well, so we'll pop that in our description below. Have a fantastic day.